I'm Teisha Bader with the JBS News Update for Wednesday, October the 15th, 2014. An Israeli border guard soldier was lightly injured yesterday during clashes with a crowd of Palestinian demonstrators near Rachel's tomb. Protesters threw rocks and Molotov cocktails at Israeli security forces near the Palestinian side of the religious site near Bethlehem. The injured soldier was hit by an improvised explosive in his leg. The rioters were ultimately dispersed by crowd control measures. France's foreign minister said yesterday that Paris should recognize a Palestinian state, only if doing so would help achieve peace, not as a symbolic gesture. Minister Laurent Fabius made the statement in response to a question asked in Parliament. He said until now the prevailing idea was that recognition should be linked to the negotiations, but if negotiations were to prove impossible or have no conclusion, then France will naturally have to assume its responsibilities. His comments follow a non-binding vote earlier this week in Great Britain, as we reported to you about yesterday, to recognize a Palestinian state outside of peace talks. Israel had said that the UK vote undermines the chance for real peace. Jewish groups in the U.S. reacted to the UK vote as well. The National Council of Young Israel sent a letter today to British Ambassador to the United States, Sir Peter Westmacott, in response to the vote, which its president Farley Weiss called counterintuitive, counterproductive, and contrary to the traditional standards of international diplomacy. Weiss wrote, rewarding the Palestinian Authority after its coalition partner Hamas launched rocket attacks on Israeli population centers, dug terror tunnels in order to kill innocent Israelis, and repeatedly used civilians as human shields, sends a troubling message that the British Parliament somehow condones Hamas's atrocious terrorist acts. The Anti-Defamation League called the UK vote a premature and counterproductive political maneuver. National Director Abe Foxman said those who voted in favor of the resolution now have sent a message to the Palestinians that they can circumvent negotiations, shelve difficult concessions, and ignore Israel altogether. Foxman said such a message undermines the chances for Israeli-Palestinian cooperation and a lasting reconciliation. And staying with the ADL, the organization reacted yesterday to an attack on a Jewish business in Crown Heights, Brooklyn, in New York. On the night of October 11th, a large group of teenagers vandalized the kosher supermarket, The Gourmet Butcher, which was captured on videotape, and allegedly also yelled a Nazi slogan. ADL New York Regional Director Evan R. Bernstein called the attack a shocking hate crime and said given the history in Crown Heights, it is imperative that city leaders ought to make clear that this kind of brazen anti-Semitic attack is completely unacceptable in New York City, and reassured the community that this kind of freewheeling violence cannot and will not happen again, referring there to riots which occurred in the neighborhood back in 1991. Bernstein said that over the next few days, the ADL would be involved in working to ensure that the strong dialogue between the Jewish and African American communities in Crown Heights continues. A news conference was held outside Brooklyn's Borough Hall yesterday to address the incident, as well as an earlier incident at the Barclays Center in Brooklyn, where, as we reported to you last week, the head of a Jewish Y in Queens was assaulted. Speakers at the conference yesterday included Jewish, Muslim, and Christian clergy and leaders, including Brooklyn Borough President Eric Adams, City Comptroller Scott Stringer, Public Advocate Letitia James, Jewish Community Relations Council of New York CEO Michael Miller, and State Assemblyman Stephen Simberwitz, who said we need good people to speak out whenever and wherever anti-Jewish violence should occur. The New York Police Department said they were investigating both incidents. Swastikas were discovered Sunday morning drawn in chalk on the steps of a Yale University dormitory. In response, students at the school gathered outside the dorm and created a chalk mural with written messages of support for the Jewish community. Yale's College Dean Jonathan Holloway condemned the incident in an email to the campus community, where he wrote, "The use of the swastika violates our values of respect, thoughtfulness, generosity, and goodwill," adding, "I will not stand idly by when this or other symbols of hate are used on this campus. It is my hope that you will join me in taking a similar stand. And turning now to some entertainment news, today is the world premiere of a David Broza film entitled East Jerusalem, West Jerusalem at the Woodstock Film Festival. It tells the story of all of the Israeli and Arab musicians who helped create David Broza's latest album, East Jerusalem, West Jerusalem. The film will come to New York City on November the 8th and be shown at the JCC of Manhattan. Broza is also using crowdfunding platform Indiegogo to raise money to help to do more work on the film. To find out more, go to the Indiegogo page or davidbroza.net. And looking at our programming for tonight, coming up at 6 o'clock, live Simchat Torah services from Central Synagogue in New York City, followed by special holiday programming, including Jewish 101 at 8 o'clock on What is Torah. That's tonight on JBS and jbstv.org. And that's the JBS News Update for Wednesday, October the 15th, 2014. I'm Teisha Bader. Chag Sameach.